Today what I'm going to be talking about is cloud computing. Basically, the motivation for this talk is dissemination of information about the things that we at Price have learned about cloud computing as we are looking for ways to help our clients do cost estimation around their potentially cloud-based solutions. So I like to start, when I talk about cloud computing, I like to start with this quote. If the computers of the kind I have advocated become the computers of the future, then computing may someday be organized as a public utility, just as the telephone system is a public utility. The computer utility could become the basis of a new and important industry, okay? And this is John McCarthy back in 1961 opined about basically what cloud computing is. So I'll start with a brief introduction, what the motivation from my perspective of doing this research was. I will talk about what cloud computing is, the basics of it, what are some of the benefits, why are people considering moving their applications into the cloud, and what are some of the risks and the challenges, some cost considerations. I'll give a couple examples of successful cloud computing endeavors, and talk a little bit about some of the impacts of cloud computing in a more general societal nature, and then wrap up the talk. So basically, cloud computing, it's just a paradigm that opens the door for this notion of utility computing. So organizations, instead of investing in the hardware, software, or infrastructure that an individual organization needs, they can access these needed resources through the cloud on an as-needed basis. So it's a lot like back in the old days we did time sharing, so there's a component of time sharing to it, but time sharing that's enabled by this ubiquitous access to the internet that we now have. There is still a lot of hype around cloud computing. I like to say that some vendors have their heads further into the cloud than their technology is into the cloud. So it's an emerging notion, although it's sort of widespread and emerging at the same time. But it's gaining traction. Gartner predicts that by the end of 2012, 1 in 5 businesses will not own its own IT assets. So cloud computing enables organizations to get access to the IT software resources that they need without actually owning anything. OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, has instructed that federal agencies starting this year are expected to consider cloud first for IT initiatives wherever it makes sense. So our government is recognizing that there's lots of overkill in their computing capability that moving certain functionality into the cloud will help reduce. Safe.gov did a survey in 2011 to find out where the federal agencies were with respect to this Cloud First initiative, and it seems as though they are working diligently, though cautiously, towards moving into the cloud, which caution is a good thing when you start putting your resources out into the open. A survey conducted by Forrester Research found that talked to 327 enterprises, and 58% currently run mission-critical workloads in the public cloud, and 79% either do or plan to in the next several years. So certainly cloud computing, it's a notion that's taking up that's people are thinking about it, people are talking about it, and people are doing it. Now you probably are already a cloud consumer. If you look at the slide, there's, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, if you have Gmail, then you're accessing software that through the internet that resides somewhere else, and you're storing information through the internet somewhere other than your local PC, your local laptop, your local server. So consumers of cloud computing are able to access hardware, software, and networking capabilities from a third-party provider through a web browser. Pardon me. So all you really need to get access to cloud applications is a PC or an iPad or an iPhone or a smartphone and a browser. So some portal to the internet. The National Institute of Standards and Technology has defined cloud computing as delivering the following: on-demand service, so you can get access to the service you need when you need it. You can this access is ubiquitous. You can get it from wherever you are, and the resources, where the actual physical resources that store your information, that the location of them is completely unknown, and it's not necessary for you to know the location of those resources. So cloud computing providers are able to take advantage of, they can build their data centers in areas where property fees are low, where power is inexpensive, if there are such places. So the cloud computing providers can take advantage of low-income areas, or not low-income areas, low rental fees and things like that, and pass that on to cloud computing consumers, because location is not an issue. Your services are delivered with rapid elasticity, because through virtualization, which I will talk about in a little bit, you're able to get access to the resources that you need when you need them, and you're not paying for ramping up to your max resource need, but you're just paying for the resources that you need today based on your needs at the moment. And the services are obviously measured, since this is a utility mechanism for delivering services. Okay, so cloud computing, pardon me, my voice is leaving me. Cloud computing providers offer internet-connected servers that house applications, and they can store data. So virtualization, which is the process through which one physical server can represent can act as though it's multiple services through creating instances of an operating system, or instances of an operating environment. Multiple instances on a single physical unit means that more of the computer's total processing and data storage powers are being taken advantage of. So if, for example, an organization generally uses 38 to 40% of the computing power of their servers, through virtualization, they can reduce the number of servers and increase the amount of how much each individual server is being utilized at a time by housing multiple environments on a single server. So that's the basic notion of virtualization, which creates an environment for scalability. So there's basically 4 types of cloud. When we talk about the cloud, and the whole terminology of cloud, technically the cloud is the internet. So technically, cloud computing is the access of IT resources via the internet. However, some of the benefits that come with cloud computing technology are desirable to organizations or institutions that don't feel comfortable using the internet, accessing their resources and putting their data in a public venue, such as they would be doing with the internet. So there's multiple types of cloud, or multiple instances where cloud computing technology is utilized, even though the public internet may not be involved. So public cloud is those resources that can be accessed via the internet. A private cloud takes advantage of cloud technologies such as virtualization and not service-oriented architecture, but web service kind of applications, but does it internally to